Welcome to Let's Talk TCI Real Estate, a show that is geared towards all things real estate in the Turks and Caicos Islands. It's always a pleasure to be in your home on a Thursday and definitely to be talking about real estate in the Turks and Caicos Islands. Please like and share the page and let everyone know, your friends and your family knows that Let's Talk TCI Real Estate is live. Before we get into the meat of the matter of today's session, of course, I would like to give a special thank you once again to my guests from the previous episode in the person of Carolina Malcolm from Regency Christie's and also Michael Babel from Turks and Caicos Sotheby's International. During that conversation, we spoke about the impact of the residential homes and villas on the real estate community in the Turks and Caicos Islands, and it was a wonderful conversation. We started from way back up to current, just discussing how things has evolved over the past years. So if you did not have an opportunity to view that segment, please feel free to go back on my Facebook page or my YouTube channel and view it for a second time. So with that said, again, let your friends, your family know that Let's Talk TCI Real Estate is live. And for the last time, if you have any questions or comments, please feel free to put it in the comment section. I will definitely be checking my phone from time to time, just in case those questions come up, and the listening audience and my guests in studio today can do her best in answering those questions for you. So without any further delay, the subject for today is about loan applications. Of course, we're gonna dive into other aspects of what's happening with the global capital TCI, but one of the things we want to focus on is loan applications. I know that in the Turks and Caicos Islands, sometimes when you start talking about loans, sometimes you feel like, okay, is it gonna help me to further my real estate advancement and purchasing? But it definitely will. I know for a fact that when I first started real estate, I had not purchased anything, and I thought that I was able to do it on my own and secure a property because I wanted to get into the real estate market. And after a while, I realized that, I couldn't have done it on my own. I needed the assistance of the bank. And so that's why I continue to bring the professionals on the show, where they can share their expertise, share about their businesses, and share whatever is relevant to help you achieve that real estate goal. And without any further delay, it is a pleasure to have in studio with me the CEO, Managing Director of Global Capital TCI, Ms. Rochelle Brown. And I'm going to ask her to further introduce herself at this time.
Well, thank you, Vernica, and it's a pleasure to be here this evening with you.
Mm-hmm.
We were really looking forward to this evening, and we're just delighted to share information with you and the listening public on the just vital information about our company and how it links into access to financing for real estate purchases. And so I'm delighted to share as much information with you as possible and how it can benefit our listening audience.
Well, thank you so much for accepting the invitation. It is a pleasure to have you on today.
Thank you.
Great. I want to just start off just to give the listening audience just a breakdown of your company. We need to understand what your company is about, and if you can do that for us, that will be really good.
Okay. Well, I'll give you a chronological, so to speak, history of Global Capital. The company started in 2015.
Okay.
So it's pretty much a short way away from celebrating its 9th anniversary of operations in the Turks and Caicos Islands.
Mm-hmm.
And it is the brainchild of Sir Lowe, Victor Lowe, who visited the islands many years ago, back in 2006, 7, 8, whenever that was, and started business in Grand Turk.
Okay.
And life happened, but he also recognized that something that was lacking in the islands, and that was access to short-term loans, to capital, but more so on access in a seamless way. And the TCI had and still do have a large pool of what you call unbanked persons, persons who perhaps cannot get a bank account,
Right.
Persons who perhaps may have fallen short back perhaps in their previous lives,
Okay.
and are not able to go back to the bank to access financing. Even persons who have reestablished themselves,
Right.
economically, domestically, you name it. We're not able to go back to the banks to gain access to financing. So the company started with that core principle in mind. And it is, like I said earlier, it's coming up on its 9th anniversary, and have what we believe has served the wider Turks and Caicos extremely well, to the benefit of many. And we'll get into that as we talk more about the benefits of the services that we've been providing over the years. Our lending services is what it is, lending. That's our core service. We don't offer anything else other than that. In the earlier days, it was just microfinancing. And we've moved just from micro to medium financing.
Okay.
And so with the medium financing allows persons to access funding for larger real estate purchases or larger purchases in general. But also bridge financing.
Okay.
And we'll talk more about that and explain what that is also. But pretty much the product, when you talk about product, you're talking about specifically the things that people borrow for.
Okay.
So vacations, education,
Yes.
medical, funeral, pay home insurances, vehicle insurances, debt consolidations, purchase vehicle. We also finance down payment for loans, for bigger loans that perhaps persons may not have the down payment.
Right.
So we would come up with the down payment so that they can go to the banks. Also, I mentioned earlier about the traditional banks not always being forgiving to people who may have fallen short in the past. And with us, once you establish a credit record with us, you've now become credit worthy again. Right? And so these are just some of the benefits that our lending product offers. And so I hope I can share more information about the things that we do and how it can benefit all and sundry.
Definitely. One of the things you said, one of the words you used was seamless capital, and I like that word because sometimes there's too many red tapes, and by you just using the word seamless, for me, it's like I'm hooked already, and I'm interested in knowing more about this product, because one of the things I don't like is when there is too many hurdles to get to the end result, and if there is a company or there is an opportunity for an individual to be able to reach their end goal in a seamless way, then definitely I think that's a good starting point, for any person who's looking to get again into real estate or be able to tap into any of the services that you offer. Right? You start talking about some of the services like bridge loan, having a bridge loan or vacation loan or personal loan. I would like if you can just give a little bit more in-depth information just to explain one or two of those services, especially when it speaks about bridge loans, so that the listening audience can further understand what it all means.
Okay, well, let me just start by going back to the seamless. We don't take the word seamless for granted. Seamless is supposed to mean seamless. And I think if we were to put ourselves in the customer's shoe and they came to us and they got the red tape scenario, they're going to say, this is not seamless.
Right.
So it was important for us to make the process as seamless as possible. And so what that is we try to live up to our commitment and our word of offering 24-hour service. We now have for a few years now, we've had our website.
Okay.
So online applications can come in, and as soon as you click the button, that application is in the front of us.
That's great.
And so shortly thereafter, you get a call or a response from us. And So that is seamless.
Mm-hmm.
You can get an answer back, whether it's this cannot work this time,
Right.
or you're eligible and we're going to have your paperwork to you in short order.
Correct.
That is seamless.
Yes.
Right? Let me go take a little history back in time. Many years ago, I'm a former banker.
Mm-hmm.
Many years ago in the Turks and Caicos, I would say before the days of 9/11, someone came for a loan or to open a bank account, and it was really seamless. You know why? Because you knew the person. One of the things we did was we would document that from general knowledge, I knew Vernica Delancey
Correct.
lives at 123 in XYZ
Yes.
neighborhood, etc., etc. And so before 9/11, that was a valid verification,
Correct.
right? Not anymore.
Not anymore.
And so after 9/11, you needed to show where you live, how long you've been living there, how long you've been working there, power bill, food bill, like every bill possible,
Correct.
before you can validate or substantiate that you knew this person.
Right.
And before verification, so to speak, was considered completed. So that has all changed.
Yes.
But we've found ways where we can still keep it seamless without having to, although those things are also compliance requirement.
Yes.
We don't take that for granted. But we still don't allow compliance requirements to get in the way of making a process seamless.
Right.
Right? And so oftentimes we think that these things are just there to frustrate people, and that's not our end game.
Well, that's good.
Right? That's not our end game. It's certainly not. It certainly does not fit into the notion of seamless.
Yes.
So, and that's not to say that we don't have a framework, a proper risk framework to determine that is in fact that person.
Correct.
Because that's what compliance is all about. Is Vernica Delancey really who she says she is? Does she live around the corner? Right? I mean, it doesn't take rocket science or should take 2 weeks, 3 weeks, 4 weeks to determine that that's who you are and whether or not you qualify for that loan. If you make $2,500 a month and your loan payment is $500, you give mommy and daddy X amount of dollars for living accommodations, etc., etc. Everybody's budget is different.
Yes.
But it doesn't take rocket science to figure out whether or not a person qualifies for a loan, right? Because the numbers don't lie.
Yes.
Right? And so for us, it's seamless when we can recognize these things as quickly as we see it, and we make a decision, and the person can have their answer. To us, that's seamless. And so we're proud of that, and we remain consistent with that. So if there's a situation where an application takes more than, and I guarantee this, takes more than 24 hours, it's because it's a unique application. Perhaps some extended or enhanced due diligence needs to be done. We don't take due diligence for granted.
Yes.
And perhaps we need to massage the application a little bit with the client. So you have those situations, and you're always going to have that. But we remain steadfast on the narrative of seamless, right?
Yes.
So let's get into bridge financing.
Yes.
Bridge financing is taking you across the bridge, right?
Yes.
And for example, you're waiting on your bank loan, your 2 month, 3 month, 4 month, 6 month bank loan to be processed.
Yes.
But you need to do people need to do things fast, right? And money doesn't sit still.
Correct.
Right? And cars on the lot doesn't sit still. And the cost of material in the shops don't sit still. But that weather is going to change. So they need to fix their roofs now, right? Insurance companies are going to stop at a certain time of the year issuing insurance because the hurricane is right around the corner, okay? And that vacation needs to happen in 2 weeks, right? Otherwise, the American airline ticket is going to change.
Right.
So people want to do things, and rightfully so. So while still waiting for perhaps financing elsewhere, maybe a bigger chunk of financing, they can get it from us in 24 hours, 48 hours, right? So that's what you call bridge. Also, we see quite often government issue contracts, and they need mobilization monies. So they're waiting to get their government situation contracts sorted. They come to us until they get that sorted.
Right. Talking about bridge loans, and you're talking about how quick persons need to access, definitely even in the real estate market, because inventory is moving so quickly, especially in certain price points. Whenever there's something that comes on the market within a price point, persons need to act quickly. And we are finding more and more that sellers are trying to move away from persons having financing because of how long it is taking. And one of the things we have been trying to encourage customers to do is to seek bridge loans at various banks or lending institutions. Meanwhile, they can, after the fact, continue to work on that loan with a commercial bank or anything else, because perhaps the interest rates may definitely be different. But I find that bridge loans have helped a lot of people to save their real estate transaction deals when they can get that guarantee. So if you are providing a 24 to 48 hour guaranteed turnaround with a bridge loan, I think that is really remarkable, and that is something persons can tap into. And just talking about it, I saw someone has a question here in regards to it, just asking about lending rates. I think that's a question that we all would want to know. And of course, just as we were talking about it, they say, well, in regards to bridge loans, well, what is the rate? So is that something you can answer for us?
Sure. But without specifically saying the rate, what I can say is that we find that the bridge loans tend to be the more medium, high volume loans,
right?
And those would always get the much lower rate.
Okay.
Because obviously, if it's a higher price loan, you want to give the best rate possible so that it's more affordable. Now, the thing about it also, you see, and that's the beauty with Global Capital. We can be very flexible. We're not carved in stone on a lot of things. Our policy is just like the bank policy, because we're in the financial space, and so we have to abide by compliance requirements, et cetera, et cetera. But in terms of being flexible, we're able to look at the case in front of us and make decisions there and negotiate with the clients. The banks are subjected to, this is what is handed down to them from wherever, and they have to abide by that. And so that's the difference or the beauty between with us versus the commercial banks.
Right.
So to answer your question, we would give the best rate, which would be the lowest rate possible, which can sometimes be 2%, 3% on a bridge facility. But remember, a bridge facility is intended to be short term, a month to 3.
Okay.
And even if you're looking at $50,000 and you offer that at 2, 3, 4%, what's that? A few $1,000s on 50,000? I think I'll take it.
Yeah. Definitely. So can you elaborate just on one or two other points other than a bridge loan, other loan options that you have available at Global Capital?
Let me just add, something also just came to mind about bridge financing. In my days of banking, and also as a mortgage manager for many years with a local bank, you have something called letters of credit.
Yes.
Right? And so that is where the bank qualifies you, or we qualify you, that yes, you can afford this loan, or I see you have a contract of a sort that's going to pay you, or you're going to access monies in short order. That is a month, 2, 3, however long maybe documents take to register with the land registry or what have you. We can also issue letters of credit, whereby, let's say you wanted to purchase $50,000 worth of material from Do It Center. We can issue, because a letter of credit is a legally binding document.
Okay.
I think I hope our name is as good as gold, that if we issue a letter of credit, Do It Center would accept that it is legally binding, and they will, without a shadow of a doubt, get their monies.
Correct.
And we know we're not going to issue that unless we are guaranteed to get our monies.
Correct.
So whilst documents and all of those things, the mushy stuff is being handled behind the scene, we can issue at a small fee or an applicable fee, a letter of credit that can guarantee you access to whatever it is that you're trying to get, whilst document land papers are being registered or even contracts are being finalized. And so that's also an avenue that I think people don't tap into often enough. We have a lot of Turks Islanders that are trying to access contracts from the government.
Right.
But a lot of those qualified persons to do the jobs, qualified, don't have mobilization monies.
Yes.
Or they need a bond, or whatever it is that they need. And those things are used to help those persons mobilize themselves, and also become eligible to access those government contracts also.
Correct.
So this is information that, and I'm really glad that you're allowing us to put more of this information out there.
Yes.
And so people know that there's access right at your fingertip. You have to be hungry enough to want it.
Yes.
And so we do get a lot of flack, I should say, for about our rates. So it's ironic that the first question was about rate. Right? We take on a lot of risk. But at the same time, I think it's important for us here in the Turks and Caicos to look at the benefit that this company is offering in terms of access to funding for land, for education for your children, for quick medical, if you want private medical arrangements, well-needed vacations, don't we all?
Yes.
You name it, right? And so the more and more we talk about these things, the more and more people know that there's hope out there.
Yes.
Right? So the audacity of Global Capital to talk about offering access to capital. But the reality is we do.
Yes.
We're calling people every day. Find something important to take this money for.
To take the money
To take the money, Yes. Find something important. And so the government can't do everything for us.
Yes.
Right? We have to be hungry enough to want to see ourselves with private land. And also, it's just not private land. You also have a turnover in crown land holders. Some people cannot pay their freehold title.
Yes.
Right? Or there's back lease. And that's what we're here for. Right? And so we look at, we don't just say, well, this is the rate for this amount, or this is the rate for this type of loan. We would. Oftentimes, I do it on a daily basis. Listen, I see what your budget looks like, but I can't let you lose that property.
Right.
I can't let your kid not do the final year of university.
Correct.
So if we can get this payment to fit here, we're going to do this because the payment is guaranteed to us. So let me just make that clear also that anyone is eligible if the payment is assured to us, is assigned to us by their employer. And so we have what you call payroll assignment by many employers that would remain nameless for now on air, that assigned payroll to us and also assigned people's specific loan payment to us. That is also part of the seamless process. Right? And but it is also a benefit to that employer because when employees are coming to us for a loan to buy a car, they want that because they want to get to work on time. We don't have great public transportation, and that's not saying that from Blue Hills to Leeward or Grace Bay is far distance, but you can't walk there.
No, you can't.
Right? So you need your transportation.
Yeah.
You need to take those vacations with your family.
Yes.
Your kids, and in a lot of cases, not just one child, your kids need to go off to university. So education loans is something that we also highly promote, right? Highly promote, highly encourage.
Yes.
And I've seen so many in global. I thought I've seen it all in Scotiabank in my 20 years of lending. But I've seen more. I've seen the backside of water, so to speak, with Global Capital, and the things that the company has done for many families. You name it.
Yes.
And so we're very flexible in many regard, and we just want people to use our services.
I do have another question on here. Someone is asking about Turks and Caicos Islanders abroad wanting to own in regards to getting financing. So I know that the question is just any info on Islanders abroad who wants to own and get financing. But I'm not 100% sure of really what the question is, but that's what it says, Islanders abroad wanting to own financing. But I know I have had like students who are abroad who wants to invest in real estate. There are some students who were abroad who had just came home, and it was difficult for them to get any form of financing. Even for some of them, very difficult even getting a credit card because they were saying that they did not have any built up credit, or they had just started working on a job and they found it very frustrating when they came home. It was difficult for them to get any form of lending. You obviously, by what you are saying, your company is also open to be able to assist persons like that, students
abroad. If you're a student abroad, number one, we cannot get an assignment of your payment from abroad.
Right, but I mean when they just return home.
However, if you have a family member that's willing to guarantee a loan for you whilst you're a student, then it can work.
Okay.
Right? Access to financing when they return is a yes, although employment stability is very important.
Yes.
Right? Because but we would not penalize you if you've just landed a job. If it's considered a stable job and your employer is saying, I'm not going to let this person go, yes, it may be new, but we may also have a very strong confidence in that employer.
Right. Okay.
So to answer that question, yes, it's also accessible.
It's also accessible.
Yeah.
Okay, I'm going to take one more question and then we're going to get back into the meat of our questions. What if the salary is being held with another financial institution? Is there still a possibility to borrow?
I get that question all the time. If the salary is being held, it must be because that individual has a loan facility with that financial institution.
Correct.
I can't imagine that they're holding all of their salary. So perhaps salary can continue to go to the bank, and your payment by your employer can be assigned to us.
Okay.
So I hope that answers the question.
Yes.
Now, if I can't see that the bank is holding all of the salary,
right? Because
the banks lend based on debt service ratio.
Yes.
You make X amount of dollars, and this is what your budget looks like. So it's a percentage of your salary, the debts versus the salary. That's the ratio. So the banks go up to 45-50% or so. We're a bit much more flexible in that regard, because remember our model was intended to be short term.
Okay.
So if you came to us for a loan for $10,000, if you're not making $10,000, then that's not a debt service ratio type of loan. that's a loan where you intend to pay us off from some sure source in a short period of time. So a debt service ratio formula would not matter in that scenario. And the banks are very stringent, and that's not a bad thing. They're very stringent in how they assess a person's affordability or being able to qualify for a loan.
Okay. So what's the maximum amount of time that you would take on a loan with a loan for? Just because you were talking about normally you focus more on the shorter term loan, what's the longest period of time you would take on a loan application for?
Well, in recent times, we find ourselves doing up to 24 months, 30 months.
Okay.
Yeah.
So that's what it is. And would non-residents as well qualify for these loans as well?
Not non-residents.
Okay, so right now we're just dealing with residents. Okay, that sounds good. Do you offer, sorry, just looking at a question. Right. Someone was just asking, do you need bank reference letters for your applications? Do you need bank reference letters for your applications?
In some cases, we do. But we're cognizant not to let that interfere with our turnaround, because we can make a call. We have relationships with the bank, so we can do our due diligence. Allows us to maneuver in a lot of ways. And what is the bank really going to tell you? That a person have 1 or 2, 3 loans with us, so don't give up. I mean, we don't want that to hinder the person. And so we come right back to the narrative of seamless.
Yes.
So we have to live up to that. Right?
Yes.
And remember, we're in the lending space just like the bank. So if a reference, which is not a bad thing. Yes. But it's very traditional.
Okay. So you're not just holding anyone to that. Yeah.
No. Okay. It's very traditional. Would really, the person has a bank account with the bank, because that's where their monies have to go if we do the loan. So we know they have a bank there. And if they're in bad standing, they're not going to have a bank account there.
Right.
So how much more is that reference going to tell you?
Yeah.
Got it?
Well, I guess, they're asking because most times in all the commercials, that's exactly what they ask for. Yeah. They want the employment letter, they want the bank letter, they want all of these due diligence. And that's why, again, it's important to understand what is necessary with different companies, because like you started off saying, seamless, getting capital seamless. And that's really a very key thing, because like I said before, if I don't have to go through the red tape, why should I go through the red tape?
Exactly.
What would you say to persons who are looking to borrow? How should they prepare themselves so that they can be ready for when their application is submitted? What would you say about that?
I would say don't be shy in coming to talk to us. That's how you be ready. But don't be shy in coming to talk to us. And you'd be surprised. Like I said, we've seen it all. And sometimes the least person who you think would have a loan with us, And so that goes a long way. And I think to speed up the process, if they're thinking weeks ahead of time, if that's how long it's going to take them to get a pay slip or a job letter, then perhaps they can have that readily available for when they make their application. And because the employment is very important. Yes. And also understanding their budget so that we can try to make the best, give the best advice on what the loan payment, what a comfortable loan payment would be. Yeah.
Okay. What would you say is do you have a maximum a month that you're willing to lend with a loan application? I'm just saying that because just back to the real estate side of it, we do have customers who would like to, say for example, if there's a lot in North Caicos price at $68,000, they may have about $40,000 worth of the the monies to be able to make the purchase. And obviously, they may just need a short-term loan to get the balance of the purchase. What is the minimum or maximum amount that you would perhaps entertain in terms of lending?
Well, if we speak specifically to that scenario, we can lend up to 100%. We can lend 100% financing, the $65,000.
Okay.
Right. Although we believe fundamentally that when a person makes a down payment towards a purchase, they have a stake in the game.
Yes.
So they feel like, man, I saved that $5,000, $10,000 toward that. I don't really want to lose that. But in a lot of cases, history has shown me where if they didn't put anything into it, they're a little bit more at ease if they find that they're rock bottom and they end up losing it.
Right.
But specifically to your question, we'll do the full amount if it's affordable. If they're waiting for the bank and they don't want to lose the property,
right?
We can do the full amount.
And these are all treated like non-secured loan without putting a charge against the property?
Those size loans would need to have collateral.
Collateral. Yeah. Okay. All right. So we talked about a lot of stuff. I want to give you this opportunity. Is there anything specifically that we didn't speak about that you feel like is very important for the listening audience to know about Global Capital and their services? Please use this opportunity to do so. It seems like we haven't been speaking long, but we've already been on 45 minutes.
Really?
So please use this opportunity to share that information, because all of this we're talking about, I think, is so valuable. There are so many things that you said today. It's like, I didn't know that service actually existed. And I think that whenever we think about how are we going to raise this capital for this specific thing, we have the opportunity right in our front door, and we didn't even realize that we did. And I feel like that's why I such affirm to, even though you have a website and we can read, I am going to be honest with you, there's a lot of people don't read. And I'm not saying it in a bad way. I'm saying it's like, sometimes we read and don't understand. Let me say it that way. And sometimes just publicly talking about it, it opens our eyes to realize that, okay, these services really does exist, and we can really move further in what we want to do, because there is an opportunity. And so I don't want you to miss this opportunity to share anything that we've missed out, or anything that's really important about Global Capital that you need to share, that we can know this service is available. This is your opportunity.
Well, not just the service. We really want people to know that the access to financing is really just a click of a button. We came on a few years ago with our website. And so I think 1, 2, 3 links down, you have apply for your loan.
Yes, I saw that.
And once you complete that application, it's into us instantaneously. So as quick as you click that button, it's in the front of our officers. And we're looking at it, scratching our heads, seeing how fast we can, get back to the person and, give them a good experience. And so we want people to know that anywhere, whether you're in your private quarters, lying down in bed, you're on the road or whatever, you can access Global Capital application just by the click of the button, www.globalcapitaltci.com, right? So that's our first order of business when we walk in the office. Who's sending an application? Because we have to meet the demands of our customers.
And your turnaround time.
Yeah, and the turnaround time. So we really want to emphasize that, but also emphasize, let's get back to really the core of Global Capital and who it really is. It was really meant. I don't think that Serlo woke up one morning and said, let me just set this thing up and see how it went. It was really a passion in recognizing how many unbanked people there were in Turks and Caicos. And the slogan, helping people to help themselves.
Yes, I saw that.
I think we really need to re-emphasize that.
Yes.
Right? Remember, nobody owes us nothing. But we have to be hungry for the things that we want.
Yes.
And what we want for our children. And so helping people to help themselves. We're here to help people
to help themselves.
And it's just nothing more to that. And so that's what Global Capital is all about. And so when it started in 2015, its core purpose remains the same as we're sitting here right now. We want to help. We pick up the phone every single day and we make phone calls and we solicit business. And we try to stimulate people's thought process also. And come on, man, you can think about something important.
Yes.
And that's not to say a vacation is not important.
It is important.
But you can think of something important to use our money for. Because I think there's a deep rooted passion for seeing people move from one stage to the next in a positive way in their lives. And that's what Global Capital is all about. You know, we have businesses that do not do assignments of payments to us.
Okay.
And that's their prerogative. We have to respect that. But at the same time, employees of those establishments, right, have families. And life happens to all of us.
Exactly.
Right? So a lot of employers have, and that's their thing. A lot of employers have a policy that employees can only borrow twice a year, once a year, the maximum of their monthly salary. But I got 2 kids I need to send off to school, and I make $3,000, $4,000 a month, right? So if I can only borrow twice a year, it means that I can only borrow from my employer a maximum of $6,000 or $8,000 for the year, right?
Yeah.
Then you have a family perhaps with a medical emergency. Same scenario again. Life happens, right?
Correct.
The husband works with a particular hotel, but they can only borrow up to that. The husband or maybe the family the banks are not forgiving, right? But in previous situations, they fell short. They've reestablished themselves, but they still can't go back to the bank.
Right.
Right? And in a lot of cases, many of us who probably have plenty monies in the bank's still gonna take you through the 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 months, weeks process, right? For whatever reason, I don't know. And as a matter of fact, it's no different with opening a bank account, right? With all due respect to the banks, right? But many years ago, to open a bank account, general knowledge, I know Vernica Delancey, daughter of Pastor Delancey, XYZ. Their bank account was open, right? So they got this thing now of compliance. It takes you 6 months to open a bank account, right? When I can walk in Bank of America this morning, and who are more heavily compliant than the U.S. with their U.S. dollar? I can walk in Bank of America this morning and walk out with a bank account with my Turks and Caicos or British passport. Right? So why does it have to take so long to open a bank account that you've known this person?
Right.
They're born and bred in Grand Turk and South Caicos and Provo.
Yes.
But it's taken 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 months to open an account for me to put my money in your account, in your bank.
Yes.
Something's wrong with the system here.
Yes.
So unfortunately, we're not opening bank accounts,
right?
But back in the day, actually, we started making a lot of recommendations to the bank for persons who wanted to have a bank account, who wanted to have a loan, but they needed a bank account.
Right.
So that was one of the benefits in terms of stimulating the economy, so to speak, with supporting new accounts for the banks. But so back to Global Capital.
Yes.
Look, we're here for the taking.
Yes.
And we really want people to use our services. And the more and more we get, support and from a client basis, the more and more we are able to offer favorable rates and services, so we can really show off the helping people help themselves. Right? So that means a lot to us, because we're just so proud when we see people doing things for themselves. We recently launched our small business program, and we're pleased to say that we're the first since the days of TC Invest to officially launch a small business loan program aimed at young entrepreneurs that want to start new businesses. Of course, this will be stated criteria for a program like that. But you have a lot of people that want to get into certain businesses that perhaps the banks are not supporting. We mentioned Invest TC in the launch of our small business program, and they're doing an amazing job at helping people with grants. And so we're in that space as well. Because the economy is doing extremely well. Almost on every front. And Turks and Caicos Islanders and residents alike shouldn't be left out.
Correct.
And that's where we come in.
Correct.
So I'm hoping to see about 50 applications in the queue tomorrow morning.
I just want to say this last thing because you lastly touched on the small business applications. Normally, I know with small businesses, a business plan may be required. Is that a part of your requirements? And if yes, is this something you guys also assist persons with or not? Because I know that sometimes people have an idea, but they're not sure how to go about the business plan. So if you can just elaborate on that a little bit just before we, wrap it up.
Down. Okay. Well, that's a very good question because we've had tons of an influx of interest in the first few days that we've sent out our thing on Instagram and Facebook about the small business program. That takes us back to the thing of seamless, right?
Yes.
I've worked in an environment far too long to know that business plans are good, but it's only a guide. And oftentimes people put these business plans together only to be shelved or put in a drawer somewhere. That's not to say that they're not useful.
Correct.
Right? But we ought not to let that get in the way of people getting ahead.
Right.
So to answer your question, we're not going to ask people to go spend a lot of money creating a bit, because a business plan right now is a minimum of about $2,000, depending on the nature of the business.
Right.
We're not asking people to do that.
Okay.
Because we're staying focused on our seamless criteria. So I hope that answers your question.
That does answer my question.
Yeah.
I think again that's a really big help to helping people help themselves.
And of course we can guide people. I've been in the mortgage space and the small business space for many years, and so some things you can see as plain as day, and Stevie Wonder can see some things. And so you're able to give people advice on and steer them perhaps and in some right directions, put the wind beneath their sails a bit. And but in a lot of cases it's the excess really getting started. Right? Yeah.
I know I have said the last thing, but I want to say before your point, because you're talking about access and seamless, your office, does it have an open door policy where persons, I know you have the seamless applications online, but where persons can just come in, or they need to make an appointment? Just want to clarify that.
Both.
Okay. Great.
But for the most part, open door.
Great. Now, to your point, but you're going to say something before.
One thing I want to emphasize also is that the small business program is not geared toward brand new businesses. It's existing as well as startup. Okay. Right? And once we meet with those individuals, we can explain a bit more on the criteria. Yeah. But for existing businesses, far too often you have very lucrative busices, but the financial management is a problem.
Okay. Yes.
Right? And so some people prefer to keep their money under their pillow, their bed, or what have you. Some people do a very good job in passing their monies through the bank.
Yes.
But we see where a lot of local businesses are making the money, but they're just turning it over from hand to store, hand to store. So there's no evidence,
good record keeping of what's going on,
of the strength of the business. And so I just want to encourage people that if you make $50, right, a prudent business, if you make $50 today, deposit that $50 in your bank account tomorrow morning. Right. If you have to write a check for it or use your card to spend it, obviously for the business or what have you, do that. But at least you can see every penny going through the bank, and you can take those records anywhere.
Yes.
To help to support your advancement in growing your business or any application that you're making. And oftentimes that's the downside of a lot of businesses getting ahead.
Yes.
With financing.
With financing. Yeah, I know that for a fact. Just making sure good record keeping to make sure that you have a track record of what's going on with the business.
We're oftentimes passionate about getting into these businesses, but we have to be passionate about burning the midnight oil, and also passionate about being disciplined with those businesses. And that is one such thing.
Yes. Okay, so we are wrapping it up. This person, apologies if you already answered this question, but what is the maximum you lend for real estate? That's our last question. What's the maximum you lend for real estate?
Well, there's no maximum. However, it always boils down to affordability. And that's where the conversation comes in when we have the application in the front of us.
Great. All right, I hope that answered your question. Thank you so much to the listening audience. Thank you for being very interactive with us. Thank you for the questions that you have put in the comment section today. And thank you for always being a supporter of Let's Talk TCI Real Estate. And again, I want to take this opportunity to thank you again, Ms. Rochelle, for being a part of this conversation. And again, I have learned a lot, and I'm hoping that all the information that was shared on here today have actually just not gone to waste, but that persons will act on it and be able to capitalize on the opportunities that Global Capital offers. Because like we said, there are so many opportunities, and it's a very good opportunity to get seamless capital. I so love that word. I so love that word, because every time you think Turks and Caicos, you think that it's always a struggle to do anything, most things in the Turks and Caicos Islands. And when you can find somewhere that the process is seamless, it's like, oh my gosh, this feels like heaven to me. So I do appreciate you being here, and I thank you for all the work you've put into Global Capital, and for being a business that allow persons to help themselves, because we all have to advance in this life, and we all have ambitions and things we're trying to achieve, and we are always looking for a helping hand to get us to that next step. Right?
Well, thank you for having us. And I'm looking forward to the next show. And I'm looking forward to tomorrow to see some new applications in the queue. Yes. And I mean, it's just something about this business that maybe it's us in the company. I think our greatest joy is when people are just happy. Really, with doing things for themselves. Honestly. Yes. Honestly, we're just always so elated that people are, and so the real estate, as we wrap up, because this is about your real estate, yes, it's important to really look far and wide on how you can do your home renovations to upgrade the value of your properties. Purchase raw land that perhaps is at the best price right now. You can, and if we get enough loan applications for land, then perhaps we can lobby the government to do something with the stamp duties, right? Yes. Because those are programs also that many years ago. I know we're going off and you got to wrap up, but it's very important that people know these things. Many years ago, government would help people with do a stamp duty break. Right. And you had floods of applications, and that's how many people were able to acquire home ownership. Right. Right? Yeah. Because affordability. I just want to say, what you're saying about stamp duty, exemptions, etc., you're true about it, but there are a few programs that are running now, and that's something I try to share on my show time after time, right? So like they're offering a $50,000 off stamp duty reduction, also for persons 50%. No, there's a $50,000. Really? They have different programs. Say for example, with the Crown Land, for those who are trying to deal with leases and stuff, there's like 50% off. They also have like $50,000 towards your stamp duty or duty concessions that are coming in the country. They also have persons who want to build units up to
5 units and more, there are even additional stamp duty opportunities that are available. So some of these are programs that have been running over the time, but some of them are even new initiatives since the housing policy program have come into place. But you are still correct that we still need to have more initiatives to be able to help others to be able to afford the home purchase or real estate purchase in the Turks and Caicos Island. And that's something we have to continue to lobby for, so that to make home ownership affordable in Turks and Caicos.
Home ownership not just in the
Yes.
Crown land area,
Yes.
but also in the private sectors.
Correct.
And it's all of these concessions help with access
Yes.
to greater wealth, and that's what we want to see. That is also part of our premise in the business that we're in, the space that we're in, and so. But let's be hungry for it.
Yes.
And let's start with the application.
The application of Global Capital,
Yes.
definitely. Thank you so much again, and thank you, listening audience, once again. And until next time, I'm going to say to you, stay safe and remain blessed. Have a very good evening. The views, thoughts, and opinions expressed on this show belong solely to Let's Talk TCI Real Estate, and not that of Keller Williams TCI or any of its affiliates. Any action you take upon the information provided on this show is strictly at your own risk, and Let's Talk TCI Real Estate guest or host will not be liable for any losses and damages in connection with the use of the material. I am not an investment advisor, broker, or dealer.